All right, so 7.1 is all about ratios and proportions. So let's start off by talking about what a ratio is. Most of you have seen a ratio, so you have kind of an innate understanding of what a ratio is. So a ratio is nothing more than a comparison of two or more numbers. Two or more numbers, and they could be anything, all right? So an example, like a real life example, would be something like maybe say, what if we said add 3 parts mix for every 1 part water. So we're comparing two numbers, right? We're comparing 3 parts of mix. So let's say this is like cement or pancake mix. You guys ever made pancakes before? Right? You need the proper ratio of mix to water. Have you guys ever made rice or quinoa or farro or anything like that? You guys made that stuff? Okay. So you need the right ratio of water to seed, right? So 3 parts mix for every 1 part water. So we're comparing 3 to 1. There's 3 ways that we could actually represent the ratio here. We could say it like this. We actually read it out. 3 to 1. If we're talking about mix to water here, we could say 3 to 1 with the word 2 in between them. And that's not the way it's represented most of the time, but some of the time it is. So we could do 3. What do you call this thing? 2 dots and then a 1. What's that symbol called in English? Huh? Colon. Yeah, 3 to 1. We do colon, 3 to 1. Okay, or the other way we could represent this is 3 to 1, and that's the third way. There is the most popular way we'll do it in geometry. So these are the 3 ways. 3 ways that we could represent a ratio. We could say 3 to 1 with the word 2, use a colon, or we could do 3 to 1 with the fraction bar. Alright, so in general, same box here. So in general, if we are comparing x to y, we're either going to say what we just said, x to y, or we're going to say x colon y, or we're going to have x over y. Even if y is a 1, even if y is the number 1, we're going to keep it in there because it's a ratio of something to something else. So these are 3 ways. Most of the time you're going to be using this way, but these other ways are possible. The other thing we have to remind you is that we always reduce. What do I mean by that? So if you were given the ratio 6 to 8, how would we reduce that ratio? 3/4. So these are equivalent ratios. So we would reduce them 3 to 4. Okay. What about 9 to 3? What will we reduce it to? 3 to 1. Because since we're talking about a ratio, we would keep the 1 in there. 3 to 1. Does that make sense? You want to keep that going if you have that on there. Alright. Alright, so a proportion, different than a ratio. Proportion is the equation that states that 2 or more ratios are equal to each other. Right? Okay, so 2 or more ratios set equal to each other. So we have to have an equation. So there will be an equal sign in there. So what if I said 11 is to 5.5 as 2 is to 1. This is now a proportion because I have 2 ratios set equal to each other. So I have this. I have 11 to 5.5 is equal to 2 to 1. But the most effective way for us is going to be this. 11 over 5.5 is the same thing as 2 over 1. Is that fair enough? We have 2 ratios set equal to each other. Now all of a sudden we have a proportion. Is that easy enough, you guys? So you see the difference between ratio and proportion? Give me a heads up if that's good. You guys good with that? Okay, good with that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at the screen. I have w over x equals y over z. Do I have a ratio or do I have a proportion? I have a proportion because I have 2 ratios set equal to each other. Now,
wouldn't that be both though? If you take 2 ratios.
Well, yeah. Okay, if I take that away, what is that? That's a ratio. If I do this, what do I have? I have a proportion. 2 ratios set equal to each other. Okay. So now, I've got w over x equals y over z. There are 4 terms in this proportion. There are 4 terms. Yep, here's the first one. Here's the second one. Here's the third one. And here's the fourth one. Alright, y or w over x equals y over z. These are called the terms of the proportion. Yep. Yeah, each one is a term. Okay, we're going to be able to do lots of manipulations with these terms in a moment. Okay. Okay, for an extended proportion, we can actually start equating quite a few ratios together. We can have 3 or more equal ratios. So whenever you see 3 or more equal ratios, so ratios set equal to each other like I have here, a over b equals c over d equals e over f, these are called extended proportions. And we could add on, we could keep writing as much as we wanted here too, as we keep going. You know, equals h over I, whatever we want to do, right? Because I could do this. I could say 2 over 1, that's the same thing as 4 over 2. That's the same thing as what? 6 over 3, right? I could do 8 over 4, 6 over 3. All of these are the same. It doesn't matter what do I do, right? They're all the same. So an extended proportion is 3 or more equal ratios set equal to each other. Does that make sense to you? Fair enough? Okay, awesome.